Thanks for having us. Joblift, we are a PPC Recruitment Advertising service based out of Berlin. We are by now in 5 international markets, and UK has been one of our latest additions. And today I'm going to talk about how we are helping the industry to generate and create good quality candidates. Essentially, 5 years ago, I was on the other side of the table, so to say. I was managing director for Zalando Germany, and I was confronted with the situation that I had to hire 5 entry-level candidates. So actually a task that should have been rather simple. And 3 months into this whole process and wasting a lot of time, I was pretty frustrated with the solutions that were out there in the market. I used job boards, I used aggregators, I used all kinds of fancy apps that were out there and that said and proclaimed that you actually could provide, they are providing the best quality candidates because of engagement. So in a nutshell, I said something, it must be easier, it must be possible to build something better. And this was sort of the inception date when we started to think about a new solution to the market. And for us, it was always very evident that we actually need to start to look at the industry and to the problem really starting with the user. Why is this important? Because at the end of the day, the industry out there is really a jungle from a user perspective. It was said already several times today that users frequent various kinds of platforms during this job search process. The latest stats have been around 18 different platforms. So there's no real go-to destination platform for job seekers, for users. And why is that a problem? Because most of these platforms really try to push for the transaction immediately, meaning there is no real engagement of the user with the job, with the content, with the company. And this is where we said that we want to make a difference. I probably don't need to tell you a lot about the problems that are existing on the recruiter side. I think talent shortages is nothing new. This week I read a newspaper and it basically said that the opening positions in the US, for example, have never been that high since 2001. I don't know if that's a good sign, also if you think of a potential crash scenario, but anyways, it is a problem. And how is Joblift helping to solve this problem? We established ourselves as the platform in the middle between job seekers on the one hand and all kinds of recruiters on the other hand. We started out as an aggregator, aggregating jobs mainly from job boards, but throughout our journey over the last 3 years also integrated jobs from agencies and also from companies directly and also from ATSs. And we said, the core is really the job seeker, and we started gathering and collecting data even before a user actually is entering our site. So what does that mean? We use a portfolio of more than 80 different traffic acquisition channels, starting from jobs, obviously starting from search to display to all kinds of traffic partnerships to social. And even before we acquire a user to our platform, we know a lot about his or her behavior. Why? Because we are tracking data with every single user that gets to our site, how he or she moves, how he or she clicks. And by the clicks and the moves and also the channel via which we acquire a user, according to that, we actually change and customize our job clusters and our algorithm on our job page. And ultimately, this should lead to the highest possible relevancy of the job offer that we show to our users. And this obviously is very important for the employer. Why? Because obviously the user has already pretty much engaged with the skill sets and everything that is required to actually do the job. What does it mean? Or basically, what is the value proposition for our partners? I think we were at the forefront of, or are at the forefront of writing this paradigm shift of really creating transparency and away from this so-called post and pray mentality, where you're basically putting a lot of budgets to classical PPC players and are not created any tools that create transparency and that show you actually where in the process potential candidates are and what you're actually spending on them. So this is what we are doing. We are creating this transparency and we have a very strong performance orientation away from basically also cost per click kind of models towards a more performance oriented CPA kind of logic. And this has led actually to us that in the stats last September, we actually registered more than 3 million users, unique users on our platforms in the 5 countries we are active in. Since the beginning of this year, we more than tripled in terms of net revenue across those countries, and we have more than 500 paying partners, and we are very happy about our churn rates, which are below 10%, and with that actually, I think, fairly above the industry standard. And how we are able to do that. At the end of the day, we looked at it quite economically or very data-driven. And at the end of the day, it's getting supply and demand together, matching supply and demand. And more than 60% of our 50 employees are doing nothing else than on a day-to-day basis working on our algorithm, data scientists and software engineers in improving the click patterns and the predictive analysis that we do. And that is more the upper part of our 2 pillars that are driving our matching algorithms between supply and demand. The other one are our traffic acquisition and user acquisition lead generation tools. And this is what I'm going to focus on in the next 4 minutes. So supply and demand, at the end of the day, on the right-hand side, and that's always how we start our process, we analyze and deconstruct all the job descriptions that we receive, all the job data that we get from our partners. That could be, as I said before, job boards, that could be agencies, that could be companies. And the core of our product is really basically our app, our mobile optimized tool where users engage with all the content. And there is a direct link to our traffic acquisition channels. As I said before, if somebody comes in or we acquire a user via display ad, via remarketing app, we know that this user already has engaged with a specific job cluster. And this tells us a lot about the click behavior and what jobs could be relevant to that user. And just to give you a little bit more detail on that, how complex this problem actually is that we are working on. And we have only chosen one small element out of the whole traffic acquisition portfolio, namely paid search, and in the case of Germany. So German country, we are actually only driving campaigns for 1,000 cities. These are actually only cities with more than 5,000 inhabitants. And we register in a total up to 500,000 different job titles. And within those job titles, you have tons of synonyms. So at the end of the day, if you link that and cross that over a couple of channels, you end up with, in this case, 25 billion different keyword combinations. And you can imagine that this is quite a complex issue. And what's adding to this complexity is actually that basically job providers, inventory providers, want to change basically inventory on the 30 minutes up to 30 minutes basis. So you have to run quite a performance-driven data infrastructure behind that. Why is this important? Because our partners, they want to actually change the jobs that they have in their feeds. If they're searching, for example, we had an example in Berlin. One employer was searching in a very dedicated campaign for 100 secretary positions, and within quite a short time period, most of them, or 50% of them, could be filled. So actually we had to react quite fast. And this is exactly how our tool is working, our automated campaign creation tool and our automated bidding tool. And the automated campaign creation tool, actually only 2 people are doing that, is automatically adjusting our campaigns where we are bidding in all this, as we said before, 1,000 locations only in Germany, and then you have to add UK, you have to add US, France, and Netherlands. And this is sort of what is really our DNA, the high level of automation, the high level of performance orientation in that. And then if the algorithm runs through, if the bidding engine runs through, again, those campaigns are spread across all our network. And at the end of the day, the users end on our engagement platform. We have been around for quite a bit. So we started our business in 2015 with the first product. We launched the product early 2016, added first recruitment agencies to our board in 2016. And this was also in 2017 when we were able actually to provide 10,000 applications per month. We added first corporate clients end of last year, 10,000 applications per week, and actually mid this year we were able to deliver 10,000 applications per day to our partners. Couple of success stories. Stepstone, biggest classified in Germany. Over the last 2 years, we have become their biggest traffic provider due to the consistency and the quality of the traffic that we were delivering to them. But our product is also perfectly working for agencies. German Personal is one of the biggest agency players in the market. And then obviously also Foodora is one example where we were able, or basically Foodora was able to decrease the advertising spend significantly since the beginning of this year, because we were consistently providing more than 200 leads and qualified leads for them on a monthly basis. That's it. We have in the UK since the beginning of last year, and we are doubling down on it. Ben is also in the audience, our country manager for the UK, and we are obviously very interested in getting to know you, and would also incentivize a first campaign of you on our platform. Thank you very much.